Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain you about DHCP. We will learn why do we need DHCP and what is DHCP and what is the importance of having the DHCP. Okay. So before we get started, let us understand the current IP assignment methods we are following. So there is an assignment called manual assignment. Manual assignment means it is the process of assigning the IP address manually to the network interface card of the computer. Means you manually go to the ncpa.cpl and then go to the IPv4 option and then go to the use the following IP address option and then manually key in the IP address, subnet mask, gateway and DNS server address. Second option is dynamic host assignment. Means assigning the IP dynamically or automatically, okay, to the computers. That is called as dynamic or DHCP assignment. The third option is APIPA. APIPA means it is automatic private IP address. Means whenever the computer is set to take the IP address uh, from the DHCP server, due to some reasons, if the DHCP server is not available or unavailable, the operating system has got a mechanism to assign the IP address in the range of 169 series, 169.255.255. Some number, okay, in between 1 to 255. So this IP we call it as APIPA. So using this APIPA, you can have the communication within your network, not outside the network. And now let us understand what is the DHCP responsibilities. So DHCP, as the name itself tells, it is a dynamic host configuration protocol. That means this is a service assign the IP address dynamically or automatically to the network computers or the devices. So what are the responsibility? The responsibility is to assign the IP address, subnet mask, default gateway and DNS address. So these are all the four basic parameters this DHCP assigns. And apart from this, we can also enable multiple other options, but these are all the basic and mandatory parameters which goes from the DHCP server. Then we have an option called scope. If you want to understand what is a scope, scope means it is a parameter which consists of the start IP, end IP, reservation, exclusion, subnet mask, and default gateway. Then, whenever the DHCP assigns an IP address, it will assign for a particular amount of or period of time. By default, the DHCP assigns the IP address by default 8 days. So 8 days is the least duration for a DHCP IP address by default, but you can change that later for how much ever time you wanted. You can even set it for seconds, or even you can set it for number of hours or days. Okay, so that's about the lease option. Now, this DHCP works on a process called DORA. So, whenever there is a DHCP client request for an IP address, there is a process called DORA happens. You can see here, DORA means it is discover, offer, request, and acknowledgement. Means this DHCP server has gotten capability of advertising itself. So by default, whenever you install an DHCP server, this DHCP server start advertising on its own, stating that I am a DHCP server present in the network and I can give you IP address. So with this help of this broadcasting packet, whenever a client machine gets powered on, it will understand that broadcasting packet, and with the help of the broadcasting packet, it will determine which is my DHCP server. Once it is determined, it will discover the DHCP server and ask for an IP address to the DHCP server. So then the DHCP server, what it will do? It will give or provide the list of IP address available in its zone or the scope. So then the client receives the set of IP address, but it will just pick up one IP address and request that IP address back to the DHCP server, stating that can you give me this IP address. Once the request reaches to the DHCP server, the DHCP server will make a note of the MAC ID of the client and who is the username of the client, all those things, and it will just give the IP address to the client for a particular lease period. Okay, this process we call it as DORA. Okay, and then there is multiple options called reservation. Reservation means assigning an IP address for a particular device permanently, means there is no lease duration for the lifetime of the computer, can also be reserved for a particular computer. So to do the reservation you need a MAC address of the computer or the physical address of the computer. And then exclusion means excluding a particular IP or the range of IP address from the distribution range, so that the DHCP server will not assign the IP address in that particular range, and those excluded IP address can be used for the computers, I mean the servers, printers, or network switches, etc. And finally, the DHCP works on the port number 67 and 68. And the last option, super scope. The super scope means the super scope consists of two or more scopes clubbed together. Means if you are clubbing more than two or more scopes together to form it as a super scope. That's about the super scope. And the DHCP database stores in a path called c:\windows slash system32 slash dhcp.mdb. This is the path where the DHCP database file will store. Even the log file also stores in the same path, but the file extension is DHCP server.log. Okay, that's about the DHCP database. And by default, DHCP works within the network. Means you can have only one DHCP server in the network. If you have more than one DHCP server in the same network, both the DHCP server will not work. And by default, one DHCP server works only within the network. It will not work beyond the router. And if you want to make use of an existing DHCP server for a different network, what we can do, we can enable the DHCP relay agent. So what does this DHCP relay agent will do? It will just take the DHCP broadcasting packets and convert that to unicast and pass that packet to the other location, so that the other end of the router will talk to the DHCP client and exchange the information. That's how the DHCP relay agent will help you to leverage or establish the existing DHCP server to another DHCP server in the different network. That's all about the DHCP. Yeah. Please let me know if you have any comment. I can answer you there. Thank you all.